Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another weather forecast here by Agent Weather Forecast. This is going to be another severe weather update here. This is going to be for the day one. We have a slight risk for millions of people across all the way from much of the plains, all the way from Texas to parts of Iowa and the Nebraska area. So be sure to watch the whole video so you know where the worst of the severe weather will be, whether you'll be impacted by some strong severe weather or scattered thunderstorms. Also, be sure to watch for who will see the worst, the timing, and the impacts we could be seeing with these bands, whether it could be tornadoes, large hail, or damaging winds. But of course, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. We are so close to 2,340 subscribers, so please hit the subscribe button. Also, please share the video to anybody that you know will be getting impacted by today's severe weather threat, so they have all the new information, so they are weather aware. Or just share the channel to anybody that you know will love my daily weather forecast. But without further ado, let's get into the severe weather video. So here we are looking at the National Weather Service here to look at the active alerts we have that are in these areas for our area of focus for severe weather. Only thing we really have is flooding advisories and flooding alerts. So we do have flood watches and flash flood watches across many areas in the Central Plains here. That's going to be throughout areas in those dark green colors. That's for much of Kansas there, parts of eastern Nebraska, and the far tips of Missouri and Iowa. So as you see, we do have these flash flood watches across areas, much of the Kansas area for Wellington, Anthony, Medicine Lodge, El Dorado, Emporia, Manhattan, Lincoln, even Lincoln, Kansas as well. And then we also have areas like Lincoln, Nebraska, Nebraska City, Columbus, Grand Island, Maryville, Fell City, and all these other areas out here. This is where we do have these flash flood watches. We also actually have, as well, in the exact same areas for severe weather threats, we also have flood warnings across these areas of South Dakota near Huron, Michelle, as well, for not far from Aberdeen. And as you see, for these other areas of South Dakota, we also have these flood warnings here. So this is our new update right now. We even have a couple flood advisories for parts of broken areas. So as you see, these areas have already seen a ton of rain in the past coming days, and we're continuing to see extremely heavy rain in these areas. And you see, that's not the only area. We have scattered flood warnings and flood advisories across all these areas as well for the South Central. So definitely possibly seeing that as well, that flooding threat, not only just that tornadoes, hail, and damaging wind threat. We're already starting to see these bands popping up out here in parts of the eastern and southern part of Texas here. We're seeing a lot of moisture and very warm temperatures in these areas and a lot of energy generally in the atmosphere. This is actually also where we have our highest Cape values, so more energy. That's going to be seeing these pop-up bands develop. Could be quite severe, could bring in some really strong wind gusts, and they're going to continue to see, we're going to continue to see these bands continue to form across all of the South Central and all of the Central Plains. Let's see, we even have some bands developing for parts of Oklahoma as well, north of Oklahoma City. So definitely start seeing these bands developing. But first, before we actually get into today's threat, let's go and talk about what we saw yesterday. Yesterday was quite surprising. We saw 21 tornadoes, and it could possibly be even more to 25, because we're still continuing to report tornadoes as we speak right now. So we saw a lot of tornadoes for a lot of states. Actually, very widespread threat yesterday. We had one near Charlotte, North Carolina. They're right on the border of South Carolina. So the Carolinas got a tornado. Texas got a tornado. Colorado got a tornado. Kansas got a tornado. Illinois got a tornado. Oak got tornadoes. Iowa got tornadoes. Wisconsin got a couple tornadoes, and North Dakota got a tornado. As you see, that's multiple states. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 states got tornadoes yesterday. Very widespread threat. As you see, we had a total of 234 reports. So that's actually quite large. And you're probably wondering why we only have 90 hail reports, because a hail has to be more than 2 inches in diameter. And seeing 90 of those reports is quite impressive. We saw a tornado all the way in North Dakota. So like I said, even the North Central Plains were also in our area of focus. And I know we were just focusing on the Midwest, but look, North Dakota got a tornado as well. So we saw actually an impressive amount of tornadoes yesterday, 21 plus. Possibly, I wouldn't definitely have 25 by the end of today on the reports for the SPC, but very widespread threats of reports of hail or wind 123. That's for much of. Actually, we saw really like the worst of it, as you see right here for Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. And the SPC got that right on the dot for the 10% chance for tornadoes. They got that right on the dot. So by far, this is really, we had our most spotted of tornadoes. We had a couple cells near Joliet that moved across north central Illinois that brought up to 2 tornadoes with 1 storm there. So we had that confirmed tornado just to the east of Joliet. So we also have a couple wind reports for Chicago. Very large hail for parts of western South Dakota near Rapid City. You guys got up to 2 to 3 inch sized hail. We also had a couple tornadoes for parts of western Kansas and even north central Colorado. So as you see, we saw a tornado in Colorado. So that means we are definitely starting to get into this severe weather trend where it does start to not just stay in the tornado alley there and also Dixie Alley, but also starting to push a bit more to the north and to the west here. So definitely as we get closer into June, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of severe weather for parts of Colorado, Texas, Kansas, Nebraska, even Wyoming, and also for parts of the north central plains in the Midwest. So this is what we saw yesterday. So kind of continue to see a lot more reports as we go on throughout today. But as we now look into today's threat, so this is where we have, this is our risk for right now. Only have slight risk, but it is very widespread. As you see, it's stretching almost all the way from Wisconsin as far west as Colorado and as far south as the Mexico border. It's taken a lot of Texas, as you see, but this is a very widespread threat. So this is really why it's actually a pretty big threat, because it's very widespread and could definitely see quite the widespread possibilities for some really powerful see that as in possibly see some large hail, maybe a couple tornadoes in some of these areas. I don't think we're obviously going to be seeing as many tornadoes as we saw yesterday. I would say maybe 3 or 5 tornadoes really today, maybe 6, but I don't see today being a huge tornado threat. I think hail would definitely be today's primary threat. But let's go ahead and check out the probabilities. So we check out the tornado probability here. Oh, before we actually do that, let's go ahead and check out how many people are at risk in this light risk. We have 308, really almost 308,000 square miles here. So very large area of focus, as you see, and we have up to 14 million people at risk and for seeing a decent probability for seeing some strong severe weather and possibly some impacts there. That's including San Antonio, Austin, Kansas City, Wichita, Corpus Christi, and of course we also have areas like Norman, Oklahoma, I believe so, or Lawton, Oklahoma. We have of course Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. We also have areas like Des Moines. We also have areas as well as all the way to Waterloo. We have this light risk, and then we also have a very widespread and marginal risk. We have 24 million people there for Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, and Omaha, Nebraska. There, even Joplin and parts of Minneapolis. And as you see, we have a very widespread general risk. So as you see, with these this warmer temperature trend, we're seeing very widespread areas that could be seeing some pop-up bands that aren't necessarily worth having a marginal risk. So as you see, we have basically 50 plus % of the general United States mainland area that has from a general risk to a slight risk, so very widespread possibilities for severe weather. Tornado risk is only a 2% chance. Like I said, tornado is not the biggest possibility or the biggest threat, but of course tornadoes could be the possibly the most deadly threat out of hail and wind, unless we have very large hail and people aren't taking it seriously, and it could cause deaths. But as you see, we do have a 10% chance. 2% chance. A 2% chance for around 5 million people. That's going to be from that's not going to be for the whole slight or marginal risk. It's going to be the general area that has the biggest probability for a tornado. So it's going to be kind of slimming down. As you see, it's kind of. Let me see if I can actually mark this area right here. Let's go ahead and do this. I think that's going to be a good idea to do this. So this is where we have basically our chance for tornadoes. I know it's not too high, but as we go here, as you see, this general area, it's going to maintain in a slimmer area, so it's kind of winding down to a smaller area. As you see, the tornado threat is going to be, it's going to be for that, actually going to be for, not even telling me, 114,000 square miles. So that's, as you see, it's winding down. So if you're in the actually area, you do have a decent probability. I know 2% chance is really low, but that's like saying like a 10% chance in general words. Wind threats also lower side, 15% chance. That's not too major. But actually, this thing just reloaded. But the hail threat is at a 50% chance with a significant severe risk. So, like I said, hail threat is the biggest threat. Let's go ahead and check out the NAN3KM model here. So, like I said, we are seeing these pop-up bands starting to develop across much of eastern Texas there. We'll also see the very widespread across much of Texas, but that's where our main focus is right now as we speak. We're going to start seeing these really strong bands across parts of Dallas, parts of near Waco, even parts near the Shreveport area. You guys can get severe weather there. As you see, we have a very widespread slight risk. So, as you see, not just the Texas area, very widespread all the way to Iowa. So very powerful bands, potentially some squall lines. So as you see, very widespread threat. We have that low pressure system right here, bringing a lot of energy across these general areas and across the plains here. We are going to be seeing, like I said, very widespread threats. We're going to be seeing a really huge, large band here, a very large band right here, and also some scattered bands across Iowa as well. Could definitely be seeing a widespread threat for hail reports there for parts of eastern Texas. It's going to get hit really hard there. As well, can be seeing some strong severe weather for areas like Jefferson City later today. Also going to see that severe weather moving to St. Louis as well. Even look, Arkansas is going to get that severe weather. Look at all these bands right here. It's super widespread threat. As when I get later into the overnight hours, we have another band developing. That's going to be for Kansas and northern Texas. That's exactly why we have the slight risk. And here we have these scattered bands across parts of Arkansas. Start seeing potential for a little a wall cloud formation, potential squall line moving towards the Springfield, Illinois area, St. Louis. Possibly see that severe weather across Little Rock. And then that kind of falls apart. But we still have this major bands right here for parts of Texas that can then bring that severe weather. And then as we get into tomorrow morning, that kind of threat is kind of minimized, but still can see very strong severe weather throughout these areas. As we now check the this is not the super sun composite parameter. This is the surface-based CAPE here. So as you see, like I said earlier, far in the video, look how we have all the energy, the highest CAPE on the coastal areas of Texas, and that's where we're seeing our bands developing. That's exactly why we do have up to 3,700 joules per kilogram. We're not seeing that threat for tornadoes really in that point. We're just seeing that severe weather, as you see. Not really seeing that huge potential for tornadoes at that point, but that's where we're going to be seeing those bands starting to develop. The tornado threat is going to be mainly for this kind of general area, like we saw that where that 2% chance is, kind of like right here. This is our general area for tornadoes, basically. As we get more into the day, we are going to start seeing these higher numbers here into the more like in the evening hours. So we're going to see a lot of energy here throughout these areas. That Iowa can be seeing possibly 3,200 joules per kilogram, and that is when we're going to be seeing that tornado threat. That's exactly when we'll see that tornado threat. We will actually have a 7.2 on the supercell composite parameter, and large hail is very likely as well. That's when we've seen that tornado threat there. Also, part of Oklahoma, 3,300 joules per kilogram. Not really seeing that huge tornado threat, just a severe weather threat. Could be seeing strong winds. But yeah, the amount of energy will actually skyrocket though as we get in the overnight hours here. Going to start seeing this energy kind of really going up for Texas as you saw that second wave of strong winds. Could possibly see up to 5,000 joules per kilogram there. Could definitely see severe weather threat. Not really a tornado threat. Like I said, like I highlighted in that SPC, our tornado threats mainly parts of Kansas as well, parts of Iowa. Could be seeing, of course, that severe weather threat, -17, that's capped. So this is definitely not going to cap out until really we get more into Monday in the day. Then things start to fall apart there, and cap skyrockets to -180. And as we look at the supercell composite parameter, as we see, we're going to see some decent numbers here, 17. Could definitely see that possibly for some supercells at that point, and then that kind of winds down a little bit. But as we now get into the overnight hours, see some higher areas of focus of potential supercells there, and that kind of goes up a little bit for western Texas, and that kind of goes down once we get more into tomorrow. Let's go and check out the National Weather Service one more time before we actually end the video. So you see nothing really new whatsoever. Let's go ahead and check this out. We actually now have a new report, like I just said. We're going to be seeing new reports as we continue. We now have a 20-second tornado report here. So like I said, we're going to continue to see these tornado reports as we see. I don't know exactly which state was actually the new one. I believe the new tornado is actually for Iowa. I think that's the new one, that 20-second one. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and bye guys.